Welcome, paranormal enthusiasts, to this week's episode of Creepin' It Real, here on the Coast to Coast Entertainment Network, where everyone comes for their paranormal fix. Real people, real stories, in real time. So glad you could join us for some ghostly gab. I'm your host, Eleanor Wagner. Hey there, everybody. As always, I appreciate you hitting the subscribe tab, follow button, or show app on your podcast of choice. Everybody give a hello shout out to our Coast to Coast techie, Crispy Bacon. He'll be working hard tonight to help us run smoothly. Tonight's guest is a one-woman show who has been spiritually sensitive since childhood, but who didn't realize or understand what it was until her 20s. She refers to herself as a baby investigator, where paranormal investigating has become her new hobby and true passion. Join me in welcoming Megan Padanee from Paranormal with Meg. Hello.
Hi, Eleanor. Thanks so much for having me.
Oh, you're very welcome. Thanks for joining. So you're a Canadian now living in Florida, huh?
That's right. I moved
What?
way down south.
Huge difference.
Yes.
Nice. Which do you like better?
I gotta say, Florida, after 30 some odd years of dealing with winters that can get to be, minus 30 Fahrenheit or so, I've had enough of that time. So
I'll bet. It's so funny because I told you I'm in the midst of a huge move. Right now I'm living in an historic church that belongs to a senior citizen friend of mine. And she's been kind enough to let us stay here while we're transitioning. But I'm coming from New Jersey to North Carolina. So I'm going to be having milder winters too. And I can't wait.
Yes.
So excited.
I'm sure New Jersey has pretty comparable winters to Toronto, Canada. So
awful. So, and I'm sitting here and I'm freezing already, and I can't wait.
All my friends and family are freezing back in Canada, and I'm just like, oh, it's 63. It's kind of cool today, but much better than I think it was 28 back home today. So
No, thank you.
No, thank
you. Hey, we're also similar in our paranormal discoveries. Like you, I was afraid and I didn't fully learn about my abilities until later on. And I didn't even embrace them until even later.
Mm-hmm.
And like you, investigating and being around others more advanced has helped me to hone in on my capabilities and grow my gifts. So I would love for you to tell us about that experience you had with your cat.
Oh, sure. I think I was maybe 19 at the time, and I was up late at night because that's what teenagers do, but I was settling in to go to bed, just laying there and looking up at the ceiling. And I saw a black entity just go across the ceiling directly through the wall into my brother's room, which was beside mine. And it was so deeply black. It was almost like dark matter, black in color. And at first I thought, what the heck? I thought I'm seeing things, but my cat ran over and jumped up on, I had a very tall dresser, but she jumped up there and then she watched it go through the ceiling. So that was kind of my first ever validating, I guess, view into the paranormal, and it really scared the heck out of me at the time. But yeah, that was a really interesting first hands-on experience, I guess you could say.
Animals are very sensitive to spirit. Mm-hmm. It's cool to see how they react, and that is also very cool that was your first experience, that your cat helped you to recognize that there was something there and that you weren't crazy.
Yeah. And prior to that, this was in my grandmother's house, and my bedroom was always the coldest one in the room. Both my cats would kind of be watching things together in unison that were not there. And so I always had a sense and a feeling there was something there, but I didn't know what that was or why I felt that so sensitively at the time either.
Right.
Hmm.
Very interesting. Well, you shared 3 special locations with me that we're going to talk about
Yeah.
with the listeners out there. And the one, Jack's house, I don't know how to pronounce that author's last name. How is
Kerouac.
it?
Kerouac.
Kerouac.
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't want to take a stab at it. I'd rather have you tell me.
No worries. No worries.
His house is in St. Petersburg, Florida. And I'm going to have Chris put up a photo of it because I like to show everybody. Um, there you go. That's actually taken from their website. So we'll give the picture credit to his website. This lovely building is a performance art theater, um, and hold on a second. I just want to make sure I got this right. Um, he actually lived in that house with his wife, I think, for quite a while, right?
Mm-hmm.
That you know. Um, Albert Karutchit is the gentleman who took this photograph for the museum, which is once home to the iconic Beat Generation novelist and poet Jack Kerouac, beginning in 1967. He spent the last 2 years of his life there, and after 30 years of being locked up, it was opened to the public in 2022 by its new owners, Gina and Ken Burchenal. Though this lovely home has historic designation, it cannot be deemed a museum technically due to its location in a residential neighborhood, which is so strange because it really is museum
It
because
is.
it's the history of the man with all his background. Why
Mm-hmm.
would you go? Why would you go there? Why? What was so special about this house that made you want to visit?
So I actually have a friend who invited me to go. I had heard of Jack Kerouac before, but I didn't actually know that he had a home in St. Petersburg. There is another location in Orlando, Florida that he either lived in or that they've turned into somewhat of a museum kind of place for him too. But anyway, she invited me to go. So my husband and I went, and it was just very interesting because he has his own original artwork in there. And it's basically a time capsule. So it looks like it's frozen in time from when
Uh,
he was living in the house. So it was very,
mhm,
very interesting. Really positive vibes, which is kind of unique for a place that was so haunted. So
sure.
being there was really cool. And I actually got to use some of my French that I learned when I was living in Canada, which is, school level French. It's nothing too advanced, but he spoke French. So it was really neat, basically being able to ask him how he's doing and having some kind of response come through in French. That was a big acknowledgement for me that he was actually there with us.
I see a picture that Chris just put up,
Yeah.
which was taken of you at that particular investigation. And it looks like you're using a camera, an SLS camera, correct?
Correct. Yes.
Yeah, I love them. They're very cool.
Yes.
Um,
And on the
you
table
had,
beside me, there's a REM pod, and then we also had the Ghost Tube has an app called Vox that we really like to use. So we were getting REM pod responses and then responses from the Vox as well.
so it's not just one thing, it was a couple of things, which in my book, when that happens, it's usually positive,
Right.
a positive message, not just
Yes.
something that you could debunk. You know what I mean?
Yes. And we kept getting on the Ovilus different responses that were sort of one word answers. One of them I can remember was mountain. And because Jack Kerouac is an author, we were looking in his books and we actually coincidentally came across a bunch of poems that also coincided with the Ovilus. So the spirits wanted us to read to them, and we did. And the REM pod was going off a lot, and the Vox was going off a lot, Ovilus was going off a lot, and then the SLS was going off. So it was a lot of activity in that place.
So is this indicative of the little footage that you sent us about the touching the REM pod? Is that what you were talking about when you sent me that little footage that we're going to put up for everybody to listen to?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, Chris, if you want to run that for us, you can go ahead and do that.
Well, it's on sale right now. We'll order the dead bell from Thursday.
She wants the dead bell. There you go. You don't like the REM pod.
So my friend Cynthia, she had asked if they wanted the dead bell, which is an item that's available on Ghost Talk, because in the Ovulus and on the Vox, they had said primitive. They didn't like the REM pod. They thought the REM pod was too primitive. So
Oh my.
she decided to ask that question, and they made the REM pod go off despite apparently it being a primitive device to them.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
That is so cool.
Yeah.
How long were you there that night? Were you there the whole night overnight, or was it like several hours?
No, we couldn't stay overnight, but we were there from 7 p.m. until 1 a.m. So we were there for quite a while.
Do they do this with the public? Do they open it up to the public, or was it just like an invitation that you got because they know it's your thing?
It was actually, we were the first group that ever went there. So they actually opened it up especially for my friend Cynthia and a few other people, including myself, who were there.
Ah, that's very cool, because when you're going into a space that's not been invaded by the population, you're more likely to get really good evidence as opposed to something that's constant and the spirits are constantly being bothered.
Yes.
So it really, that's why I love going into private residences and businesses with the books that I write. People reach out to me and they'll say, oh, I know you write these books about local hauntings and I've got something in my house. Do you want to bring your paranormal team? And we jump at the chance to do that because it gives us the opportunity to actually get in there and help the homeowner or business owner figure out who it is and what's going on. And then also make their lives connect. Because sometimes people just don't know what to do. I mean, I always tell them they should acknowledge them because that's why they're trying to get their attention. But people just apparently don't know that. So it takes someone like you were right to tell them that.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are really scared too. And I think sometimes the fear sort of makes those trickster spirits kind of act up a bit more too, because they like getting a rise out of people. So
especially if they're children.
Yeah, definitely.
The children ones are funny.
Yeah.
Has there ever been a particular investigation that you've been on that you found something frightening?
So when I was first starting to do investigations, we were at the Arcadia Opera House, which is in Arcadia, Florida, Southwest Florida. Mm-hmm. And I did the Estes method for the second time ever. And at the same time, when you're hearing everything with the headphones, there was also an overlap of whispering in my left ear. And I could feel something sort of touching the back of my head here. And normally I'm really not scared, but it was such an unusual feeling and sound to hear that whispering, but not being able to comprehend what was being said at the same time. That definitely gave me the creeps and scared me. But that being said, it happened again in Kerouac House, and it didn't scare me because I just thought, okay, I guess someone's trying to talk to me at the same time while I'm doing Estes method. So just that first time was a really unusual and off-putting experience.
Because you've never had that experience before. But this is a picture of the Arcadia Opera House in, Arcadia Opera House in Arcadia, Florida, or the historic Heard Opera House, as it's known too.
Correct.
This picture credit goes to Siri Celebrat, and this lovely building is a performance art theater and is an Arcadia landmark. And this is what you were just talking about with the listeners.
Yes.
Because of its morbid history, it fuels paranormal sightings a lot, and it's considered to be the most haunted building in all of Southwest Florida. Even its owner, James Crosby, has been quoted to say at some points, I always get the impression there's somebody else here, whether that's just the size and scope of the place or the lighting, but I'm always catching something out of the corner of my eye that makes me stop and turn my head. That definitely sounds enticing.
Yes, you never feel alone there, that's for sure.
You told us a little bit about what happened with that instance. So you've been there more than once, clearly you've said.
Yes, I've been there twice. I may go back again in January. It just depends on my work schedule. I do really like going there because there are so many spirits, and it's kind of a mishmash of people who used to work there and people who are just hanging out for some reason. And across the street from the Opera House, there was a building that used to be a brothel, and it burned down because wives were so upset over the fact that their husbands were going there and set it on fire.
Oh,
So, you know, you also have that kind of energy that definitely comes from across the street. And there are some things that are said that are rather inappropriate that you hear coming out of those spirits' mouths, but it kind of adds to the whole interesting part of it.
oh, that is so funny.
Yeah.
Well, you brought some footage with you today that we're going to share with the audience. You want to tell us what it's all about?
Sure. Is the footage from the Opera House there that you've got?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. So there's several rooms that are upstairs. There's obviously the main stage theater room. It is still being renovated because of damage due to Hurricane Ian last year. So not everything is set up, but in this particular room, they had a music stand and a few couches and things like that. So we were sitting in there trying to talk to whatever spirits were in that room. We did make contact with one who confirmed his name is Wayne. He was personally very responsive to me, and anytime somebody else came into the room, he would stop talking other than to say too many or people. So he didn't like the fact that there were numerous people coming in. But as we were, yeah, so he really just wanted a one-on-one kind of thing. We don't know why he was there. He wouldn't really tell us, but he just wanted to have breezy conversations one-on-one with me, I suppose. And as we were leaving, we pulled up the SLS and tried to see where he was in the room. There's two spirits that are sitting in a couple of chairs that are there. And we asked him to raise his hand so we could tell which one he was. So he did actually raise his hand upon request.
Oh.
So that was really, really interesting.
Yeah, I love that. Okay,
Yeah.
Chris, you want to run that footage for us, please?
It only came up as a picture.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I don't know.
Well, he is the one that's on the left-hand
On the
side
screen.
there.
Okay.
Yeah, there
There
is
you
a
go.
video on my Instagram, so if you wanted to see it, it is available on there, the full video.
Okay. Well, why don't you let the audience know what your Instagram is so that they can go and check it out?
Yeah, so my Instagram is paranormal with Meg, just MEG, and you should be able to find that video on there in my feed.
Very cool. What do you think of real paranormal investigations compared to the ones that are depicted on television these days?
I have mixed emotions. There are some shows that I absolutely love. I see them as totally valid investigations based on my own personal experiences and their reaction and the variety of devices that they use to validate their findings. There are definitely some shows, where individuals are kind of screaming at the top of their lungs and jumping up and down and making demands of spirits and just being very harsh. Personally, when I'm investigating, I come from a place of peace and wanting to connect as a curious individual about the other side, and as feeling, yes, and is feeling sensitive to who is there. And I do find that I pick up on their emotions and things like that too. So
you're empathic as well.
Definitely. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so even as I'm saying that, I'm getting shivers down my spine. So that's interesting. I always want to approach spirits with the utmost respect because they're giving us a glimpse into whatever world, reality, dimension, however you feel about it, they're in. And it's a privilege to be able to talk to spirits, in my personal opinion.
Absolutely. I totally agree. I mean, to keep on reminding yourself that these spirits were humans.
Yes.
They were human in life. And now just because they're dead doesn't make them any less human.
100%. And we don't know
So
what they think and feel being, deceased now and what their spirit sees and where they are. So obviously we want to be respectful of that and of them and their time too.
yes, I totally agree.
Mm-hmm.
And I always tell people too, when they ask me, they were human once before, and their personalities go with them. So that's why,
Yes.
as an empath, you feel those emotions, especially if they feel that they're disrespected. They might get angry or lash out or become upset or just shut down, just as they would if they were alive. So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I always approach an investigation with total respect
Yes.
and let them know that I appreciate them giving us their time and their energy. So
Yes.
I'm with
100% agree.
yeah. Okie dokies. Well, the last location that we had that you were going to talk to me about is the historic Southland Trail Cemetery in Port Charlotte, Florida.
Yes.
And I have a picture to show the viewers, which is Charlie Mooney's picture. And it's just of a tombstone, one of the tombstones from the cemetery. Chris is going to put it up. Doesn't look like much at all, but
Mm-hmm.
there are 4 historical cemeteries in Charlotte County dating back to the 1880s. I personally find cemeteries to be a hotspot at any time of day. It lies in a remote spot, this cemetery, tucked away between woods and houses. And I mean, it's easy for me to say, so what do you think is so special about this particular location? But that would make you want to go there specifically to investigate. But I'm kind of like into all cemeteries, regardless of their make or model. What drew you there, though?
What I just found so interesting about it is that it is such an old cemetery and that the headstones don't have any information. Um, and to me, that's sort of sad for those spirits. And I feel sad that they don't have information marking who they are and why they're there or why they passed on. So I just found it really intriguing to go there and see what it was all about. I've never seen a cemetery like that before. So it was really interesting being there.
Really, you've never seen a cemetery like that, huh?
No.
In Sussex County, where I live, they're all over the place.
Yeah.
And in fact, a couple weeks ago, we were on a historic property trying to help the landowner, locate the cemetery that belonged to slaves at one time. And they've been searching for this area because they want to actually acknowledge it and,
Mm-hmm.
bring it to the public's attention that that's there. And they've been searching for a really long time. I think they're going to take the next step of getting one of those machines that they got now, that it's almost like a metal detector sort
Oh,
of,
yes.
but
Yeah.
it can detect where there are bodies, and because they kind of have an idea of where the location is,
Mm-hmm.
but they want to know exactly where the bodies are and how many are there. So
Yes.
um, it's really, it is very interesting. You're right, especially if they're just marked with just a bland stone that has like a letter on it or something. But we have a lot of them here in Sussex County. A lot.
Yeah, it's, this is still new to me, so I think that's probably why I haven't come across it yet. But that was definitely an interesting part for me. And, it is a cemetery that's also known to have a lot of convicts that were buried there that would do a lot of work for Charlotte County and things like that at the time. So it it was very interesting on a number of different levels because it was so old, and then all the unmarked headstones as well.
And you say convicts, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Mm-hmm.
you got a great catch in a photo. You got a spirit in a photograph. So Chris will put the first one up where you've circled it in red.
Yeah.
There. Yeah. And you just happened to spot it after you brought the pictures home and looked at them?
Yeah, so this is actually a live photo. So what had happened is I always keep my iPhone on live mode so that if I do capture anything, it's almost like a mini video. And then when
Mm-hmm.
you obviously press on the photo in iPhone, it will play that sort of live snippet. So in the live capture, the spirit does pop out from behind the tree. And at the same time, I was saying, I'm taking some photos, so if there's any spirits here, I would love to see your face. We would
Right.
love to see you pop out for my picture. If you can, just try your best. And I just happened to get this really good capture of the spirit coming out from behind the tree there. So
Very cool.
that was really great. And that one is pinned to my Instagram profile. So if you go there, it should be the
Actually,
first thing.
you actually sent it, so Chris can run that now if he wants to, because you did send that to me also.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think he's getting ready to do that.
That's okay.
I know that when I go to cemeteries, I take pictures in succession, like 1, 2, 3,
Yes.
1, 2, 3. And by the end of the usually I go at night. And
Mhm.
at the end, I'll have like 100 pictures that I literally have to go through. And it can be tedious work to actually sit there and go through the photographs, especially if they're all dark. But I've gotten some great catches, cemetery catches.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
That
I'm
was, sorry, go
just
ahead.
taking, no, that's okay. Just taking the time to go through them. And sometimes I even question myself. I'm like, oh my gosh, is that really something? Some of them
Yeah.
just are right there and there's no doubt. And then there's other ones it's like, oh my God, if I really didn't look, I would have missed this. I would have missed
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
So
I literally went back and looked at it 5 times until I finally went to my husband and said, I think I caught something on here. So then I showed it to him and he said, oh yeah, that really does look like something. And then I just watched it like 50 times until I finally posted it.
okay, here it is. He's going
Yeah.
to run that for us. Okay. You trying to do that for us, Chris?
Yeah, it only shows me the 3 photos.
Okay, just let's show
Like,
them
it shows me
I
again.
did
this one.
zoom in, so you should be able to see it when you zoom in a little bit there.
There you go.
Yeah.
Cool.
And who's this one?
Yeah, there he is. And I just love it so much because it's kind of that traditional image of how ghosts are drawn with, like a pointy head and the drooping shoulders and everything like that. And it really came into fruition with this capture here. So I really loved it. I was so excited when I saw that.
I'll bet.
Yeah.
I took this one picture in a cemetery, and it's been a couple of times that I've gone to different cemeteries, but this one, he was just standing there. He was almost like he reminded me of George Washington. This look, and he had an ascot and a long coat, and he was just standing there. He was so regal looking and handsome, and I'm like, oh my gosh! And he
I
popped
love
up in
that.
two of the 3 pictures. Remember how I was telling you I took
Yeah.
3? And it was just, I was amazed that I actually got that one so good. And that same night, I got another one in the Civil War part of the cemetery, I think it was. And he looks to be a soldier holding a rifle, but it's not as clear as the other one. I mean, you could see it, but it's not like popping out at you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I would have missed it if I really didn't take the time to actually sit there and look through all those black photos. So
Yes.
I know
understand.
one of my team members is like, it's a pain in the neck sitting there and listening to that audio, because you take all this audio and you actually have to find the time to sit there and listen to the audio, just like you got to look at the pictures.
Right.
So it gets to be crazy. It gets in the middle sometimes, but you just do what you got to do.
Yeah. It's so worth it though when you do all that digging and you're like, holy smokes,
When you get
what
a
I
catch.
got. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. I
For
know. It is. It's great. I remember this one time we were doing an investigation in Morris County at a church, and it was during the day. We were there actually the whole night, but when we first got there, it was light out, so we went to the cemetery first. And one of the members, her last name, I think it was Morris that particular night, and she was drawn to a stone out of the blue. Goes to the front of the stone to look at it, and what's the last name on it but Morris.
Wow.
So it was, which just happened to me a couple of weeks ago. I had gone to an event and I showed up really early. Didn't think I was that early, but I did. And there was a cemetery next door. And I said, you know what? I got all this time to kill. I'm going to go walk the cemetery. So I walked in the cemetery, and I'm just randomly walking because I find them very peaceful and calming.
Yeah.
And I just love the whole atmosphere. And I'm really actually enjoying myself on my own because I don't usually do it on my own. I'm usually got somebody tagging along with me. And I was drawn to a tombstone all I saw was the back of it. It was like, nope, I got to go over there, go to the front of it. And the woman in the stone's name is Eleanor. And
Wow.
her birthday is kind of like a day or two before or after mine. And I'm like, hi, Eleanor. I see we got the same name. Thanks for sharing. So
Aw.
when those things happen, it's just something that happens. But in the Morris County Cemetery, this one particular day when we were there, and Morris saw the stone with her family name on it. Later on, when I looked at the pictures, there were two spirits that were standing there observing us, and they were modern day spirits too. It was because the cemetery wasn't all old. It was people that had just
Right.
recently passed. It was modern, up to date. And the two spirits that were watching us, one was like this nerdy guy with glasses on, speaking with an African American man with a huge afro. And they were just, it almost was like they were conferring with one another, like, well, who are these people? What is this stuff
Yeah.
that it was really crazy cool. And I'm like, I thought I was seeing things, and I'm saying to myself, I can't believe I got these two guys just standing there
Oh, I
watching
love
us.
that. And I love
Yeah.
when spirits are talking to each other like that. Like in Kerouac House, we did Estes method at the end of the night, and there was literally a spirit party. And I've never like heard anything like that in my life. And while I was in Estes method myself, I could sense by the doorway there was like a group of women chatting, which like
Mhm.
women always do that at parties. They gravitate to the door and they just stand there and chat. And I could hear that beside the Estes method. So everything going on through the spirit box, and then everything from their chatter going on beside me too. So
Oh,
I
that's
love when
cool.
spirits are just talking to each other and you get some sort of great energy or great capture like that. It's so fun.
They're just living their best life.
They are. They are. And everybody was talking to each other in the spirit box too, like about bringing wine and having conversations about strippers and things like that. So it was really
Oh
fun.
my gosh,
Yeah.
that is so fun. Just you mentioning that made me think of that movie, The Others, with Nicole Kidman. Did you ever see that movie?
I did, yes.
And
Yeah.
and I don't mean to like burst anyone's bubble if they haven't seen it
Spoiler
already,
alert.
but at the end, it's almost like the role is reversed,
Mhm. Mhm.
It's very similar to that in that respect. So
Yeah.
what's on your agenda for the months ahead? What do you got going on?
So I have just started a new job. So being that we moved from Canada to the United States, my husband is an American. I had to do the whole immigration process. So I've only just gotten my work authorization, so I'm pretty busy with work right now. I just got a job a couple of weeks ago. But hopefully I can go back to Arcadia Opera House in January. So I have that lined up for the new year. I actually did a little session with Vox in my house yesterday. I like to do it sometimes and see what's up with the spirits. And I asked them where I should go next, and they said fort. So that was kind of
You
interesting.
gotta go to a fort.
Yeah, we do have forts in Florida. I did go to the fort that's in St. Augustine, so that was really cool. But I'll have to look into it and see what I can find that's closer to me if there is anything in Southwest Florida.
Neat.
Yeah, otherwise I just kind of plan it on the fly and see what I can find. And then sometimes I'll plan things ahead of time with my friend Cynthia. She's been doing this way longer. So if she invites me to something, usually I'll go to that. But we'll see what lies ahead.
Well, welcome to the United States.
Thank you.
And thank you for going through all that trouble to do it the right way. I appreciate that.
Oh, yeah. It must be done the right way. It must be
Absolutely.
done the right way.
My parents did it. My in-laws did it. So everybody should be doing it the right way.
I agree. I agree.
Tell listeners how they can find and follow you.
So if you want to find and follow me, I'm on Instagram. I'm available at Paranormal with Meg. Sorry, Paranormal with Meg. I'm setting up my YouTube. That will also be Paranormal with Meg. Just nothing's on there yet, but we're getting that started. I am learning how to edit videos, so that's gonna be
fun.
that's gonna be a lot of work too. But I'm here for it, and I'm excited to post more things as they come in.
That's wonderful. Are you on TikTok yet?
Not yet. Not yet. I haven't used TikTok.
I did it probably, I think it's probably going on a year now, but you kind of get used to the routine. So you have a certain time
Yeah.
that you do it, and then you do 1, 2, 3 all at the same time. So, but it's actually a really good outlet for posting videos and stuff. So you might want to check it out.
Yes. I have been thinking about it and I probably will get signed up. I'm in my late 30s now, so I just kind of was like, I don't want any more social media, but I think I
Oh,
have to.
I know. Welcome to my world. Exactly the same thing.
Yeah.
I ended up, I got rid of a few things, but like I said, my daughter had gotten me into the habit Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So faithfully, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, she said, 3 o'clock, do it, Mom. And I would do it as close to 3 o'clock as I can. And then I do boom, 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 all of them one right after another.
Yeah.
And then if I have something special to put on maybe a Saturday or a Sunday, then I'll just do that extra. But faithfully Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And when I added TikTok, it was just added to the list. So
Yes. Yeah. That's probably what I'm going to end up doing too. TikTok seems to be the future of social media. So
it seems to be, that's for sure.
Yes.
They actually got commercials on TV now. I saw that recently.
Yeah.
I've been seeing people posting those commercials like, wow, okay.
Yeah.
I know there was
I
this
have
whole
seen
thing
them.
about getting rid of it, but I don't think it's going anywhere. So
No, it's here to stay. That's for sure.
Yeah. Well, this was a lot of fun. Thank you
It
so much for
was.
joining me today. I'm going to have to keep my eye on you.
Same. And if you're ever in Southwest Florida, hit me up. And if I ever go to North Carolina, I'll do the same. It would be great to
Thank
meet
you.
you.
Actually, yeah, I can't wait to go looking for paranormals in North Carolina because I have the New Jersey Spirit Hunters, which were formerly the Lady Ghostbusters here in New Jersey, and they were all upset that I'm leaving. But I'm like, hey, it'll just give you some reason, an excuse to come to North Carolina, and give me an excuse to come back up here. Well, I actually have a fan base in Sussex County now because of my books. I've written about the county here, so I have to come up. I'm going to have to come out later. So, do you celebrate Christmas?
I do. I celebrate both Christmas and Hanukkah. So my dad's side is 100% Jewish, and my mom's side is 100% Christian.
The best
so
of both worlds.
Yes.
Best of both worlds. Well, happy holidays to you, and thank you so much for joining me tonight. I appreciate it.
Yes, happy holidays to you too, and thank you so very much for having me. It was such a pleasure to meet you and Chris.
Sure thing. Same. And thank you, Techie Chris. We couldn't do it without you. If you like listening to this week's episode and you're into all things paranormal, check out my other show, Eleanor Wagner's Strange and Scary World podcast out of the Paranormal UK Radio Network, which is available wherever you get your podcasts. Excuse me. You can watch and listen to the uncut version directly through my Eleanor Wagner YouTube channel. Also, if anyone's interested in reading any of my books, you can find them on Amazon, but you can get signed copies directly through me at authoreleanorwagner@gmail.com. I write about the history of the town and location, add the paranormal story to the mix, and finish it all off with photos and evidence. And I'm excited to share that I now have t-shirts available from both my Creepin' It Real podcast and Strange and Scary World podcast. Anyone interested in getting one of these can email me at authoreleanorwagner@gmail.com. Lastly, viewers, tune in on Thursday, January 4th at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time when Black Smoke Paranormal makes an appearance. Until then, happy holidays and good night.
I hope you've enjoyed this little journey down my own personal nightmare alley. If you're one of those people who experiences the paranormal and has stories of your own you've been filing away over the years, I want to hear about them. And if you're a part of a paranormal investigative team, even better. I'd love to have you on my show. Got a questionable photo? Send it in. Would love to have an open discussion here amongst the professionals. Reach out to me at authoreleanorwagner@gmail.com. Enjoy our soundtrack music, Headless Horseman by Alexander Nakarada, promoted by freestockmusic.com. And remember, no ghost story is better than a real-life ghost story. Until we meet again, make sure you're creeping it real.